What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined always by my main man, Jacob Punturi. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Oh, what a Sunday at Acrisure Stadium it was. This team has hit a new low. The fans have hit a new boiling point. And for the first time, really ever, we sit here and we talk about the end of Mike Tomlin with some real relevance, some real urgency, and some real possibilities that it may all come to an end. But he's not the only one. The Aaron Rodgers project seems to be a failure. This entire season seems to be a failure, and there are many questions about whether or not he should stay the starting quarterback, if it is time for a change overall, and we will dive into it, their reactions, and more. It's a good one here in the city of Pittsburgh. It does not feel like a doom and gloom victory or lack of victory Monday. Hope you're feeling well, and I got to be honest, I'm very excited to dive into what I saw yesterday at Acrisure Stadium.
I mean, buddy, I've been waiting to dive into it. You know, we haven't had a chance to talk very much. You know, we've been texting, messaging over the last 24 hours, talking about the Steelers' demise and how gross that game was. But, you know, I'm doing good. The nursery's getting painted. So, like, there's great things happening over in the Puntori household. But, I mean, as far as the Steelers goes, just got to offer a cheers to the season because there's nothing left, my man. That's about the feeling I'm bringing into this Monday. So loads of positivity emanating from Jacob today because this season just feels completely done. Maybe won't even pick the team one more time for the remaining 5 games. That's how fed up I am, brother. That's how fed up I am.
It does feel that we're about there. I'm glad that the baby situating is getting good. Wish we could combine that with a Victory Monday to, you know, bring all the happiness and joy, but it does not seem to be the case. The Pittsburgh Steelers season may officially be over. There are 5 weeks left, and a lot of things could happen in 5 weeks, but I also believe that everybody sitting here right now looks at this and says, yeah, we said the same thing about 6 weeks. We said the same thing about 7 weeks. And it feels like each week that ticks by, that growing belief that things could turn around seems to fade a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. A 26-7 loss to the Buffalo Bills came in a blow that just looked defeated. A team that looked like they gave up. Everybody spoke after it. TJ Watt said everybody was flat. Aaron Rodgers opened up about, guys not showing up to film room, which we'll dive into here in a little bit, and the fact that they don't prepare well, which I think is super alarming. And then to top it all off, the fans did it, Jacob. That was the first time I ever called you Jake. That was weird.
Oh.
Yesterday, fourth quarter, the entire stadium at Acrisure Stadium filled with the chants, "Fire Tomlin." If you have not seen the video, it's on my Twitter. It's also on our YouTube. And it was the first time, I sent a message to you and our guys early in the game, and I said, guys, we might have to prep this story because it kind of feels like it's coming. Feels like we're getting really close. That's where the energy was to start the game off. It did not take much. And it was a very, very abrupt and massive reminder that the fans have hit their breaking point and they have made their message loud and clear. Now, I said this in my to-go. I'll reiterate it again, and then I will give you the floor because I want your words on this as well. I look at this as the Pittsburgh Steelers have no more options. They are left with one option, and that is to listen to the fan base because the fans have been saying this for years, and it has been a growing number of them that have said, get rid of Tomlin. Time to move on from Tomlin. Time to move on from Tomlin. And the portions of those who believe and those who don't seem to be staggering in the wrong direction. And in my opinion, what yesterday was a collective of the fan base saying that you, Mr. Art Rooney, are not listening or seeing our words and seeing our pleas. So we will bring it to your house and we will make sure that the message is loud and clear. And once that happens, it's really hard to turn back. What was your thoughts on the fire Tomlin chance yesterday? And then we'll get into his response and maybe how that just makes it all so much worse here in a moment.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it was overdue in a lot of ways, and I think there is an expectation from the fan base, and they are very vocal about what that expectation is. And when it's not met, I think the fan base has been very patient. We talked about recently how, about the fire Matt Canada stuff and how that came about and how it was warranted after 1 or 2 games of Matt Canada as an offensive coordinator, but there was some time before that came in full force from the fan base calling for him to be fired. The patience with Mike Tomlin, no one is saying he's a bad coach, or at least you're not going to hear me say that he is a bad coach. I still maintain that he is an excellent NFL head coach. The time is up. There is no more rope left to give. There is no more runway left for Mike Tomlin to push this team in his vision. They tried their best. Great. The fan base has tried to be patient, to buy in, to try to hold out hope and optimism, and it feels like it is just evaporated and it's gone. So I was an overdue chant, and I think an acknowledgement that they are just fed up with the status quo and what keeps happening for the last, decade of Pittsburgh Steelers football.
It's exactly what it was. This was Tomlin's reaction to the chance.
How restless and frustrated the crowd was today?
I know how restless and frustrated I was, and so I assume they were in the same state we were in.
How are you in your own stadium?
Man, I share their frustration tonight, man. We didn't do enough. And that's just reality of it.
I got to be honest. Mike T coming out of that podium yesterday, or coming to that podium yesterday, it was really difficult to see any emotion. He looked pissed off. He looked like he just gave some big giant speech in the locker room that left him, a little bit just emotional. But I think Mike T sees the writing on the wall, man. I really do. I was told by a source inside that building today, because obviously that's all everybody wants to talk about is Mike Tomlin, that there's still 5 games left and there's just a long season and so many things could happen. But there are questions even inside the Steelers about whether or not Mike Tomlin and the Steelers are a fit and if Mike T wants to remain the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. And I think that's where I stand today. I don't think it's just the Steelers side of things. I think that overall, where the entire fan base, the entire organization, and the head coach sit, is that everyone is starting to slowly realize that it's just not working anymore. And I'm with you. I don't think Mike Tomlin's a bad head coach. I think he's a great head coach. And I have said that for years and will continue to say that for the rest of Mike Tomlin's tenure in the NFL. I think Mike Tomlin's a great head coach. But I also think that Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers have run themselves stale, and that Mike T and the Steelers right now have a philosophy where they cannot rebuild. They have to maintain Super Bowl status because they have to break the curse of can't win a playoff game. And I think truthfully, what everybody is starting to acknowledge and get to is not that Mike Tomlin is not a fit to be head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's everybody acknowledging that this team needs to embrace shit. It needs to embrace that we need to restart this whole project and see if we can make it happen again, which most teams do. You go into the gutter and then you climb out of it and you look better on the other side. And I don't know if Mike Tomlin wants to be a part of that. And I don't know if the Steelers and Mike Tomlin match in trying to be a part of it. Now, I think that there are obvious, flaws. I don't think Mike Tomlin is a perfect head coach. I think the defense looks atrocious and they somehow look worse with better players, which in my head means that the coaching is so bad that offenses are just getting around it with ease. But I think in the grand scheme of it, it comes down to the Steelers are at a point where a rebuild is necessary, and that does not fit what type of coach Mike Tomlin is. Mike Tomlin's a Super Bowl, want to win it now head coach, and he's going to do everything he can to get a team to 9-8. And the Steelers need to go 4-13. That's what they need to do. And I just think that both sides are starting to agree that maybe it's that time that the philosophies no longer align in Pittsburgh.
They simply don't align, and it's again, I hate to reuse this sort of trope and to reuse this comparison, but it is overdue, and you can look within sports organizations in Pittsburgh as an example. The Pittsburgh Penguins refused to fire Mike Sullivan for several years after his quote unquote expiration date, or after his message had grown stale within that locker room because of what he had done and because of his resume and importance to the organization. Being let go, parting ways mutually, which is, what I agree with you. That's probably how this will go down when the time comes. Not going to put a specific date on it, but it is going to, it is not going to erase or diminish what he has done for the Pittsburgh Steelers, or how he was, the longest tenured coach in the NFL for such a long time, what he did for the organization overall. Again, we'll talk about him as this elite NFL coach. It's just no longer in alignment, like you said. And I think for the Pittsburgh Steelers they might need to be even worse than this. I hope they lose. I'll just be, honest. I hope they lose the remaining 5 games. I hope this just forces their hand in this conversation, because they have to descend a little bit further in order to build back up. I truly believe it.
I agree. And I think everybody else agrees too. I think everybody is very open to the fact that change needs to come, and that, head coaching change needs to be there. Where we sit today, there are 5 games left. That's a very long season ahead, and turnarounds can happen. We all know that. If the season ended today, do you think Mike Tomlin's the head coach in 2026?
Oh, no, because they're not really. They're in a much worse position than they were at the end of 2024, which felt a little bit worse than 23, and so on and so forth. Keep on going back. So I don't think that there is a lot of space. If the season ended today, I don't think the Steelers would want to move forward with Mike Tomlin as their head coach, or at least if I'm running the Steelers, why would you want to? Now, that just, rein in my own pessimism here for a second. And you just kind of mentioned it a little bit here. Say they go and defeat those Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
This whole, the amount of whiplash that has happened just within the 2025 season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I'm not confident. There's no reason to be optimistic heading into this Week 14 matchup. I'm just posing this on a non-victory Monday. Maybe that's what happens, and how much does this whole entire perspective on the season shift if they do go and defeat the Baltimore Ravens in an AFC North matchup, even after getting just walloped by the Buffalo Bills?
Look, if the Steelers win out and make the playoffs, it's a difference. Everything changes. You know what I mean? Everything. Now, if the Steelers win out, make the playoffs, and then get smoked in the first round, we're right back to where we started. Right back to where we started. The difference is that there has been no sign of life from the Pittsburgh Steelers that make you think that's going to happen. None. None. You beat the Indianapolis Colts, who now suck. You beat the New York Jets, who really suck. You beat the Minnesota Vikings, who suck. You beat the New England Patriots. That's a quality win. But it was before they were ridiculous. But that's still a quality win. I'll give you that. Who else did they beat? Who am I missing? The Cincinnati Bengals, who suck and had Joe Flacco. And the Cleveland Browns, who had Dylan Gabriel, who's since been benched for Shedeur Sanders. Who sucked. Exactly. There's been the Steelers are the ultimate who have you beaten team, and it does not look good, because you only have 2 who have you beaten opponents left, and that's the Cleveland Browns and the Miami Dolphins. And if you win those 2, maybe you got a shot, but you also finish 8-9. And if you get swept by Baltimore, it's over. It's all but over. It's all but over.
Do you think this team has a shot against the Detroit Lions?
No.
Me neither.
I do not.
They're just smoked, brother.
I don't think this team has a shot against the Baltimore Ravens where we sit today. I just don't think that this team has any mojo at all. This is a team where this team is where last year's 0-5 team was to end the season. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, anything could happen, but we said that going into the playoffs last year, and Derrick Henry ran for 400 yards. Like, at some point, I just think that I'm ready to admit what's directly in front of us, and that's what this is. So, could that happen? Certainly. I mean, we've seen crazier things. We've seen crazier things with Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I'm not banking on that to happen. There's not a large part of my brain that says that it's going to happen, and I think that if the season ended today, or if the season ends at the end of the season, I think there's real conversations. Here's the thing, though. I think Mike Tomlin would choose to walk away. I don't think the Steelers would fire him. I think he would want to get out of here.
They'd be doing him a favor, says Rex Ryan.
Ryan. Yeah.
You know what my favorite thing about Rex Ryan is?
What?
That he was in an Adam Sandler movie.
What one?
That's My Boy.
Is he in That's My Boy?
He's Adam Sandler's like agent, if I recall correctly. Freaking love.
Wow, he is actually.
But yeah, don't let me get going on a movie tirade on the first half of the show. Come on now.
I agree. And that's a movie reference I got. I agree. I do think that they'd be doing him a favor, because that's the thing. If Mike Tomlin went to any other team, and I know people don't want to agree with this, but it's my opinion. If Mike Tomlin went to any other team, I think he'd be great, and I think that team would have a shot to win a Super Bowl. And I don't think I'd be upset if they went out and won a Super Bowl, because I don't think that he would have won one in Pittsburgh. I think he'd just go win one somewhere else, because I think change is inevitable. All right, let's talk Aaron Rodgers now, because he made a lot known yesterday that they don't practice very well, that they don't prepare very well. And Aaron Rodgers looked like booty for the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday. Did not look good at all. I mean, the quarterbacks alone let this thing go. Mason Rudolph, if I had to guess, not on the roster in 2026. That guy stinks.
So garbage.
He is
garbage.
So bad. And Aaron becoming kind of equally as bad. Here's the thing, though. He definitely put some blame on the players around him for what occurred yesterday. And I think it's very interesting.
How do you kind of go through that with your pass catchers, where it's saying, hey, maybe I saw this, you see this, iron those out over the last 5 minutes?
When there's film sessions, everybody shows up. And when I check through a route, do the right route. Like John and I just were on the same page. I checked to his in-breaker and he ran out-breaker. John is a true professional, so I'm sure he's sick about that. But I threw a ball I thought was going to get hit by the wind. It was 4 yards over Roman, so it's a shitty throw. I got to make that throw. But we have our meetings every week. We have other opportunities outside of the facility, and look forward to seeing all the boys there.
I have defended Aaron Rodgers for not being like the guy that everybody says he was throughout this season. I will say that yesterday when he said that, I said one of two things is going on here. One, Jonnu Smith, DK Metcalf, maybe Pat Freiermuth, Roman, Cal, whoever it is. People are not showing up for film room. People are not putting in the extra effort. People are not looking to improve. They're giving up on this offense. Or two, Aaron is exactly doing this, and he knows what he's doing, and he's putting the blame on everybody else. I don't know what side of the coin it is, but it sure feels like these wide receivers are not doing much. And I'm going to be really honest. I do want to talk about benching Aaron, because I think that that's the next move for the Pittsburgh Steelers here. I think Aaron's comments yesterday, he brushed off and said, I'm not getting into that. Stomped his water bottle down. Boom. Super loud. That he's not talking head coaches and that nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And then he dropped that, and I went, TJ came in here and said that they're flat. Aaron came in here and said that they don't practice or prepare well, and then said people aren't showing up to do their part in film room or know what's going on. It sure as hell sounds like these coaches suck. And that's kind of what I got from that one, is that these players do not have any authority. And you want to know what it brought me back to? Buffalo Bills beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in Buffalo in the playoffs. Snow game, everybody remembers it. Najee Harris, after the game, says very clear as day that people need to be held more accountable, that things need to change, and that rules need to be stricter, that the Steelers have a discipline problem. Kind of feels like that's adding up here. Kind of feels like we're starting to realize that. Remember last year when Deshaun Elliott, who's new to this defense, came in here and said, if everybody did their job, we'd be fine. But people aren't doing their job. Patrick Queen and Cam Hayward are talking about schematics and how people aren't in the right positions. Sure as hell feels like this is on the coaching. You know, maybe I'm wrong, but it sure feels like everybody is sending a very clear message without being straightforward on it, on where the blame lies in Pittsburgh. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
I mean, no. Listen, the coaches set the tone and create the environment in which the players go through every day in. So, you know, you can fault the players, and you know, there were multiple Pittsburgh Steelers who said we need to be more accountable and make better plays. And I agree with that 100%, right? Like Aaron Rodgers has not thrown for more than 165 yards in 3 appearances. Like he's not thrown for more than 265 yards, I believe, this entire season. Like he hasn't been good. I just really don't think for him to say, you know, when there are film sessions, go to the film sessions. For him to say that out loud in a post-game press conference setting, I do take that somewhat literally. And I know we talk all the time about trying to read between the lines, not necessarily believing everything that the coaching staff players say as 100% truthful because of what they can and can't talk about, blah, blah, blah. I took that to mean there's some players who are not, you know, coming into film sessions like they should. That to me, again, in full agreement with you here, Noah, that points to there's no repercussions except for maybe certain players. But then that creates this whole other tangential question, and maybe you have an answer for this, but like, why then, if discipline, structure, environment is such a problem from coaching on down, why is it that some players that are huge quote unquote problems stick out and have to be dealt with, but there's little issues popping up all the time? If Aaron Rodgers' words are to be believed, there are little tiny micro infractions happening all the time on this team, and people aren't being held accountable or reprimanded for it. So why are there some issues that have been blown so out of proportion that players like George Pickens have to be traded, but then are players not showing up to film sessions on a weekly basis, not given any consequences? Like, can you help me make sense of that?
I think that's exactly it. I think George, let's go back to the George situation here. Okay. George was not just late for one practice or one day. He was late for many. And we never heard about it. George was never disciplined for it. Nothing. He was eventually traded because it kept adding up. 2 years or a year prior, Najee's in the locker room saying these things need to happen, which clear as day is being pointed at George. You know what I mean? George is an issue. George is not showing up, blah, blah, blah. It all comes out the next year. Nothing's happening. Cam Sutton's causing issues on the defense. You know, nothing's happening. Nobody's saying anything. The players are freaking out. The coaches aren't doing a damn thing. They're keeping them out there. It just kind of feels Jonnu Smith out snapping the whole world on offense despite literally not doing anything. It just feels like what you're saying is spot on, and it makes no sense in my head or your head about how there's a difference or when to do it, because you feel like you should do it the first time. This is guys who are being paid millions and millions of dollars to not show up to film session. You should show up to film. To not know the check down, you should know the check down. There should be accountability at every single turn. And just like you said, like there is no rhyme or reason. It just feels like that's the case, that the Steelers don't have a rhyme or reason for it. It's just there. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense. And I hate, to be put on my Charlie Day connecting the lines and the dots sort of thing, it seems pretty much like John Smith is the one who maybe should go to another film session or two, because
Yeah.
he was the one that Aaron specifically called out for not knowing or doing the incorrect check at the line of scrimmage. I just don't know how you can be a professional and like what else are you supposed to do all day, man? Like,
I don't know.
Understand it. All you gotta know is just red 90 means go left. Like, I just don't. It kills me, man. I hate to like diminish football. I understand the complexities of it and the work and preparing that goes into the game. I don't mean to diminish that, but like, you make
But you also have to
double
prepare.
digit. You have to prepare. That's the part of the game. You make X, how much does he make per year? They gave him more money coming into the 2025 season after they acquired him. So he's making, I don't know,
$12 million. He's making $12 million to not know the check.
And you don't know the check at the line of scrimmage. I don't understand. I don't know. It's not like Aaron Rodgers is out here doing his cadence in like 1/16th time or something like that you can't keep up. Like, it's just know the words, man. Kills me.
It doesn't make any sense. But again, it goes back to like, there is no accountability. There is no nothing. Let me ask this. Let me kind of pivot off of the coaching and go to Aaron here for a second. If the Steelers lose to the Ravens, do you just start Will Howard the rest of the season?
If I would start Will Howard against the Baltimore Ravens.
Obviously.
But yes, if they lose another game, yes, absolutely. Because you're at that point, you have really lost hold in the AFC North, even if you are a bad team. And the Baltimore Ravens are not good, right? Like, they are just as flawed as the Pittsburgh Steelers and many other teams. So are the Cincinnati Bengals and Cleveland Browns. This we all know. If they lose that game, your season's it feels done right now. It's effectively done next week if they lose that game. And at that point, what do you have to lose? Just put in Will Howard. If it's awful, it's been awful. Who cares?
Yeah, like that's the thing is like it'd be so hard to evaluate Will Howard to be like, well, DK's still not open. Calvin and Roman are still non-existent. Darnell Washington's catching passes, but that's awesome. That was the saddest moment of yesterday. Let's make that very clear. Tony Romo saying that they need to get Darnell Washington involved more to get this offense sparked when there's DK Metcalf out there. I went, wow, dude, this sucks. This team, this sucks. This is not fun. That is the epitome of a really bad offense.
Tony Romo, my man's got to talk about preparing.
Yeah.
You gotta read a little bit more before you come in for the broadcast booths, my man. Talk about Mason Rudolph playing well in relief. I was like,
yeah, did he?
Yeah, he said that Mason Rudolph has played well since coming on in relief of Aaron Rodgers. And I was like, I guess if you consider just the second half of the Bengals game, but that other game happened against the Chicago Bears. People, I'm gonna check my notes, got destroyed. So
yeah. Shout out to Tony Romo, dude. Shout out to Tony Romo. But that's look at I think that I don't expect Will to succeed if that's the case, but I do think that at some point you just try it out. You just say, look, at the Aaron Rodgers experiment ended. We have to give up on literally everything. It's the acceptance of it's over. It's not to save a season. It's not to do anything. It's the acceptance of it's over. It's the acceptance of let's see what we got in Will Howard, and maybe it's something good. Maybe it's something good enough to feel good about it going into the offseason and find a little bit of joy and a little bit of positivity going into the offseason. And I think that's all you need right now. I think that's all you need. I think if you go to Baltimore and you lose, you just cash it in. You know what I mean? Call it a day. It was a good season. Had a lot of fun. You're 6-7. You're 2-6 in your last 8 games. It's time to move on. It's time to move on. I think it will not happen, but I do think that at some point this season, I think if they lose the next 2 games, if they lose to Baltimore and then they lose to Miami, then I think it's Will Howard time. And I think we're getting dangerously close to him starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which
wow,
I'm all for, dude. I'm all for. Like,
yeah, who cares?
Give the Rook a chance. Let's see what happens. Let's see if the Steelers found somebody in Will Howard. I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys. That's everything on our agenda. We're going to start answering your guys' questions, so make sure you toss them in the chat. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of it, we'll get to them. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Pittsburgh, this one's for you. From the voices behind all Steelers talk comes Black and Gold apparel, your go-to for bold, fan-driven merch that reps the city, the Steelers, and everything in between. Whether you bleed black and gold or just love that Pittsburgh grit, we've got something for you. It's more than a podcast. It's a community. And thanks to your support, we're proud to bring the passion from our mics to your closets. Gear up, stand out, and show the world what real fans look like. Shop now at blackandgoldapparel.myshopify.com.
All righty. Shout out to our members. Shout out to our super chatters. Before we get going here, hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Can't thank you guys enough for all that you do. We're going to kick it off with Two Girls, One Duff. I don't even know why I came here today. Praying we watch Fire this month, no matter how impossible it looks. Yeah.
Can I offer some? Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
No. You didn't cut off anything important. Go for it.
I have in front of me actually Mike Tomlin's record in December and January in the regular season as the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. Do you know what it is by chance?
Mike Tomlin's record in December. Is that what you said?
In December and January,
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah, you're bang on. Overall, he's 56-36. Do you know what it is the last 2 years though?
Oh, bad, terrible.
5-7.
Yeah,
and that's just regular season. We know how the playoffs have gone.
Yeah, that's 0-4 last year. We went big O and big 4.
They were a bad team. So maybe it's we revert to some Tomlin teams of old as far as the final month of the regular season. I want to see, we'd love to see it, right? I don't want to keep coming in here day after day and being like this. They suck. I don't get any joy out of this.
No,
I'm pessimistic
it would be so
by
much fun.
birth, not by choice.
I'm the other way around, dude. I'm the most optimistic human on the planet, and I have been so miserable all day long, and I can't tell why. And I think it's because I knew what I was coming into. I knew what we were doing today, and this is it. It eats me alive. I didn't sleep well last night. This is where we're at. Look, I'll never shut the door. I'll never shut the door on a possibility, but I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it. Cody Silva followed that up with "we ass."
I mean, yeah, man.
Shout out to Cody Silva, man. Shout out to Cody. Christian, it's been over since the last 10 decades. It's 100 years. The play calls don't work anymore. Everyone can read the coverages, fire the coaches, get a QB, develop on Will Howard, get a wide receiver and a cornerback. Yeah. So here's my big alarming giant crazy thing here is Trey Essex was going on a rant on Twitter yesterday during the game. Shout out to Trey Essex. And Braden Fajoko, who, again, shout out Braden Fajoko, very nice guy, kind of fired back and said, look, no disrespect, but I don't look at PQ as an issue. I look at the fact that the Steelers are still playing the same exact defense that they ran when James Ferrier was here, and these are totally different athletes in totally different situations. And I took that to heart, and I said, you know what? That's so true, that you got everybody and their mother constantly. You get the Julian Edelmans and the so on and so, the Ben Roethlisbergers and everybody being like, yeah, we've run the same defense for 20 years under Mike Tomlin and nothing's changed. Maybe, just maybe, we have finally hit a point where all 32 teams in the NFL go, I know how to stop that defense. I know how to do that. So there's really no reason to try here. And I think maybe that's why they're playing bad.
Were you in TJ's post-game presser?
I was me to you away right now, and it was terrifying.
I talk about most alarming things out of that whole day. The fact that, again, a professional football player is like, yeah, you know what? They ran zone weak 300 times. They know what to do. We just tried everything. Couldn't stop it. That's crazy to me. That is absolutely absurd. The fact that something that is just as simple as a chip block on an extra set of hands on TJ Watt, to use Tony Romo's phrasing from yesterday once again, get an extra set of hands on the guy. All that did, it was just spring their rushing game. A record high rushing yards allowed at Acrisure
Yep.
Stadium, Heinz Field. An embarrassing display, and they didn't even do it by bringing out, going deep into their pockets, deep into their playbook and pulling out all the stops. They did it by running outside the tackles. Like
With backup tackles.
With backup and we talked about this. We talked about this on Thursday or Friday. This is a game that the Steelers' edge should have just dominated, right? You have these second string JV guys. Instead, they get dominated. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing defensive football. $170 million worth of fun.
Embarrassing
football.
Smotus Buddhist, I've defended Tomlin for years. Fire Tomlin. That's how you know things are down bad here. Smotus Buddhist has another one. I will be forever grateful for Mike Tomlin's services to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I very much so agree with this one. So I get it. I get that. Like I 100% feel the anger and frustration, and I know that most people don't agree with me with this one. I think Mike Tomlin has been a very good head coach in the NFL, and he has just run his course in Pittsburgh. And it's just time to move on. Like that's all it is. It's time to move on while also acknowledging like we had fun and some really good times, and there was some good stuff going on. And now it's just, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. Tortellini salad. I disagree. Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game since I was 16. I'm about to be 26. Tomlin should just retire. He can't coach anymore. Again, like I disagree. I think it, and again, like it's got nothing to do with the Steelers. I'm not blaming the Steelers for this. I'm not saying anything. I just think that if Mike Tomlin left, ended up in New York with the Giants, and the Giants won a Super Bowl in 2 years, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. I'd be like, yeah, dude, Tomlin's a good head coach. Who would have thought? Like, who would have thought Tomlin's a good head coach? Like, stunner, stunner.
He's what, 50 something?
He's young, 54 years old.
Like
54 years old.
He's this I guess this like the hot shot, young generation of coaches, right? He's a little bit older, but you look at the greats and so many coaches around the league. Andy Reid's 312 years old. He was alive when America signed the Declaration of Independence, he's still coaching. So I think that he has a chance to coach genuinely for, another 2 decades if he really wants to. And I think he can find success.
Sean Payton, garbage his last couple of years. I shouldn't say garbage. Not a Super Bowl contender his last few years in New Orleans. Not at all. Retires, comes back. Broncos might win the freaking Super Bowl. That's how good they look.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just a change of scenery, and it's best for both sides because look at everybody wants to use Andy Reid as the example. Great. Andy Reid has turned the Kansas City Chiefs into a complete powerhouse of a football team. The Philadelphia Eagles have won 2 Super Bowls. So they've done their part too. It goes both ways. It goes both ways. 2 girls, 1 duff. I've been the Tomlin Glazer, but if we can't catch fire and win a playoff game or 2, we have to demolish the entire franchise and rebuild from the foundation. You want to know the only coach that I think stays if Tomlin does leave is Tom Barth. It's the only one.
Not even Danny Smith? I think I've heard you say.
Oh, and Danny Smith. Danny Smith is just a guy. I wouldn't be shocked if Danny Smith retired. It was just like, all right, let's move on. But I think every single other coach is gone. I think every single other one of them. Whole coaching staff. Gone.
But what good, who's
you
doing
can't
good?
Keep them.
You
got to move on.
Yeah.
You got to move on. John, the losses don't even bother me anymore. It's expected because that's the standard, and it's been that way for a while. The frustration is real today, guys. The frustration is real. Cody Silva, have we ever ran on first down? Not to my knowledge. Not to my understanding. I think it's approximately 0 times.
0 times. Curious.
As he looks it up. Smootest Buddhist. I will ask this. If this truly is Tomlin's last year as our coach, can we at least stick it to the Baltimore Ravens one last time, please? What is this? Oh. Yes, the yellow. YouTube did you so dirty with that one because it's the yellow middle finger emoji. The Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, there's an emoji in there.
Yeah, right. Can't even see it because of the
It's
the
invisible.
yellow. Totally screwed you on that one. Yeah, that would be awesome. It would be cool to like. It really would, dude. It would be nice for Tomlin and the Steelers to part ways, and for everybody to like take a quick moment of just like, you know what? Thanks, T. Thanks, Mike T. You did some good here. We won some games. We won a Super Bowl. Like good times. This was the best move that we could have made. It's time to move on. You know, I just maybe I'm wrong here. Did you look up?
No.
Did you seriously look up if they've ever run on first down?
No,
They
I'm trying to
have,
find
definitely.
like the data on it. I can't find
I was
anything
gonna
that's like
say, they
comprehensive
definitely
enough.
have. Definitely have.
Of course they've run on first down, but I'm trying to see how often they were if I can find a quick percentage, and I can't. So I'll come back to it.
Jacob, what makes Rooney so committed to Tomlin? I never understood the underlying reason. Is it pride in their long coaching tenures? Why is he so reluctant? No, I think that the general population compared to the NFL population acknowledge that a 9-8 season is so much harder to do than me, you, and everybody else. You know what I mean? If you went to Andy Reid tomorrow and said, who's the most respected coach in the NFL, he'd tell you Mike Tomlin. If you went to any player in the NFL and said, who's the most respected coach in the NFL, they'd tell you Mike Tomlin. I mean, I've talked to them. I've talked to people across this league for years now, and the respect, the acknowledgement for what he's done and the competition level that he's kept in Pittsburgh for the last 19 years is so sky high, it's crazy. And I get it that comes with the also inability to win a playoff game right now, and change needs to happen. But inside NFL circles, they do not view Mike Tomlin anywhere remotely close to how this fan base views Mike Tomlin. And they would all tell every single Steelers fan who says fire Mike Tomlin that you're effing nuts, because I've had it said to me many times. I'm not saying they're right. I'm just saying that's why people always ask that. Where's the loyalty come from? The loyalty comes from the NFL acknowledging how good Mike Tomlin is and having a completely different view of the situation.
For sure. Yeah. I think the NFL community has a vastly different opinion. I think there's also a factor of there is a tradition for the Pittsburgh Steelers in maintaining a long tenured head coach. You know, they take pride in only having, you know, this is their third head coach since Chuck Noll. Like, they don't want to be like other franchises that do rotate, you know, head coaches in and out on every couple of years type of cycle. I certainly think that all is a factor. And I think the relationship between, you know, head coach and owner is excellent. And I think that, you know, as we all can talk about in our own respective workplaces, if you have a good relationship with, you know, your employer, with your bosses, or with your fellow employees, sometimes the byproduct and what you are actually the output of what's going on isn't the entire focus. Sometimes it's not just about, you know, winning solely. It's about the fact that they have been competitive for so long. Don't agree anymore. Don't think it's worthwhile anymore. But
No,
I can understand why the Rooneys might be more hesitant than the, you know, Steelers fan base.
yeah, very much so agree. Raccoon, just want to put this out there. We don't have a second round pick next year. I'm pretty sure that they do. Am I wrong here? They traded DK for they traded DK for this year's second round pick for 2025. I don't know, unless I'm missing a trade somewhere. They should have their second round pick. I'm almost positive.
I will verify for you in one.
ND Joe, I'm no longer watching to see if we win. I'm watching for the sheer entertainment. We do.
We do.
Yeah. I was gonna say I'm pretty sure that it was. I mean, I know for a fact DK was 2025, but
right.
I didn't think I missed something somewhere along the way. ND Joe, I'm no longer watching to see if we win. I'm watching for the sheer entertainment aspect. No expectations whatsoever. Looking for better draft picks. 5 spots up is better than nothing at this point. It's I think it's. I mean, I hear you. It's a brutal time to be sitting around looking for losses, you know. And I think a win in Baltimore sparks a little sense of urgency to say, all right, yeah, see what happens. Dougie frustrated. Why was Terrell Austin not fired today? I understand Tomlin runs that defense, but come on. After that performance, something needs to change immediately. Gave up 250 rushing yards. Okay, so here's the thing. Dougie frustrated. I understand that it would make a statement. I get that it would make a statement. But if you acknowledge that Mike Tomlin runs the defense, okay, and you acknowledge that nothing on the defense would actually change, okay, there's a level of these are actual human beings. They are not Madden game pieces or anything else. And Terrell Austin has worked with Mike Tomlin and Art Rooney for a long time. And to say 5 more games where you are literally not doing anything but standing there with a headset on to not embarrass you or your family is a respect level that the Rooneys will have. And honestly, I respect the Rooneys for that. I do. But that's why it hasn't happened. Now, could it happen tomorrow? For sure. That's my interpretation of why nothing is happening where we sit here today. It's just sometimes it comes down to respect for a human, and it's not like you're, firing Arthur Smith and have to go replace him with actual people who will replace him. You're going to fire TA so that Gerald Alexander gets to stand there with a headset on this time instead. You know what I mean? Like, that's where I think it happens.
I get it. I think there's some belief that Gerald Alexander could be a rising coach.
Oh, I agree. But not in Pittsburgh, because he would not call the plays. He would not. He would stand there and be like, "Oh, this is what TA was doing. I was doing more the other day. What are we doing here? John, how different would it have been if we got a true number 2 wide receiver? Would DK be open a lot more? Would the tight ends be open, or would it not matter because Tomlin is the coach? I think the offense would play a lot better, but I don't think that the Steelers would have won many more games. Maybe Cincinnati. That's about it. That's the one that to me sticks out as like that was a shooting match that you lost in, but I don't like it's not going to make the defense any better, and the defense is atrocious.
Yeah, excuse me. Unless unless the number 2 wide receiver can also play, D tackle, possibly defensive back, and
corner,
I don't think,
safety.
Yeah, any of those positions would be great.
Edge.
I don't think wide receiver, edge. Oh, that'd be nice. They don't have any of those that they're paying a lot of money. That's for sure.
None that are good.
None that are good. No, absolutely. And I think it would be good in theory, right? We talked about this a lot all season leading up to the trade deadline. Their offense has been incomplete, right? It lacks the necessary players that a contending offense needs in order to be effective over a full season, maybe into the postseason. That has just never been the case for these Pittsburgh Steelers this year. Calvin Austin, they thrusted into the role, was not built for it. Roman Wilson, not really built for it at all. Jonnu Smith doesn't know where to go. Pat Freiermuth, and this is the thing that I maybe even push back on. They win that Cincinnati Bengals game, the first one that is, with an additional wide receivers, because Pat Freiermuth was the guy who featured heavily in their comeback attempt, and who should have been the hero of that game alongside Aaron Rodgers, only for that $170 million defense to let them down and give up a game-winning touchdown. So
yeah,
I don't know if the answer is like the offense is frustrating, abysmal. All these, adjectives are great and accurate. The defense is the only place that I think we should be talking about personnel and roster wise where the biggest failure has been for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year.
Yeah, if a wide receiver 2 is not covering T. Higgins late in the fourth quarter to give up a 20-yard bomb that was easily defendable, it's only going to improve so much. I know I love Will Howard. Howard time. The train needs to leave Tomlin behind. That's the worst. That'd be hands down the worst part of Tomlin getting fired is Tomlin has set himself up for a brutal roasting on social media with his clips and phrases and Tomlinisms. And yeah, it is Will Howard time.
Keep watching. Watching you lose?
Watching
I want to do that. I don't want to do that.
You can tell you're just like, I don't want to be here, man. And I got to answer these questions. Bernard, do you think Aaron gets benched for Mason Rudolph next week? No, I hope that he gets benched for Will Howard at some point this season, but will not get benched for Mason Rudolph. And let me tell you, if the Steelers do bench Aaron Rodgers for Mason Rudolph, nobody should leave that game. You know what I mean? Nobody should be able to walk off that field with Steelers clothing on. I don't care if you got to leave naked. I don't care. You hand the badge, the gun, the play sheet, and all of your apparel because you no longer represent the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's
Did you say the gun?
the gun, the badge. Give me your badge and your gun. You know what I mean? You get fired from the police. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Give me
Arthur
everything.
There's 1-2 on the field.
Just chilling right there. You better not run the right route. You better not run the right route. Dougie frustrated. Shout out to Terrell Austin. Man, what stinks is, dude. I ran into fans yesterday. Shout out to the boys. They asked, what's my thoughts on Terrell Austin? I said, great human, bad coach. And that stinks because, when Matt Canada got fired, I was like, I don't even care, bro. Doesn't even bother me, and I'm not losing any sleep over this. You know what I mean? Terrell Austin, I like that guy. I wanted him to succeed so bad and just couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. Nicholas, my favorite part is Cam trying to act like a tough guy with his taunt after getting scored on and ran through like shit through a tin horn. He did say after the game that Josh Allen kneed him in the gut or something, and he was pretty fired up about it. Yeah, not a good move by good old Josh Allen, but I agree. It was
there's always for a lot of guys who talk about, no excuses, gotta be more accountable. There's always something, there's always people not coming to film sessions. There's always people not running the right routes, even though I called the check. There's always I got kneed in my tummy. And there's always a reason why. And it's like, I get it. Game's rough.
Yeah.
Maybe just who do you think is going to give you sympathy from this? You know what I mean? Like I heard Cam what he said afterwards, and that's low blows are low blows. We talked about the Jamar Chase situation,
sure.
right? But like I don't know, dude. Like just getting physical in a scrum, like in a intense matchup, like I don't really want to hear it.
I agree. Which perfect for Cody Silva here. We soft AF. This team is weak with no heart. That's kind of what it feels like. You know what I mean? I would never call an NFL team soft. It does feel like the Steelers have no heart out there. Like none whatsoever. None.
Yeah.
People aren't even they're just like everybody's pissed off, but like with nothing behind it, It's like, how do you fix it? Come to work pissed off.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you gonna though? Like, are you gonna come to work pissed off on Tuesday, or are you just gonna be? Is everything gonna be okay? Because it kind of feels like everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Like, what are you gonna do next? Like, that's the thing that always we've heard several times this year. Understandably, they're frustrated. They want to do better. They need to get better in a hurry. We need to look ourselves in the mirror, be more accountable. I get it. How do you do that?
Yep.
How do you,
or not showing up to film sessions in week 13 is not how you do that. It's not how you do that.
Agreed.
It's not how you do that. Cody Silva, we ask. Just keep it trucking. That's the third we ask. Chris, Tomlin says the standard is the standard. He hasn't met this standard. Has he? By his own actions, we are mirrored in mediocrity. He has to go, guys. Yeah, I think that's the worst part of it, is that the standard has fallen so far that it is no longer the same standard. The standard for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now is trying to fight their way to a playoff spot. That's truth. The truth is right now the standard is trying to fight your way to a playoff spot. And that is just that's not what that quote was designed to be. It just hasn't been met in so long that it has no meaning anymore.
Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, certainly was not what that meant when the standard is the standard was first uttered, but oh, how the mighty have fallen,
Yeah. Christian, Pittsburgh Steelers should hire Kelvin Shepherd from the Detroit Lions. Noah, make it happen. Yeah, let me talk to Art tomorrow. I rode the elevator with Art, Dan, and Omar yesterday, and like after the game. Yeah, I mean that's common practice. And I'm in there, and Dan was standing next to me, and Dan Rooney, for those of you,
Oh, you want to pick this back up, that name drop?
Yeah. And I wanted him to go first, like, because his dad just left, and Omar just left, and their security left, and I was like, God, Dan, you're good. And he couldn't, you know what I mean? Like, normally you're like, thanks, man, appreciate it. He just gave me like that, like real sad, subtle, like pat on the shoulder, just like a. And I was like, damn, dude, we're down bad, brother. We are down bad. That being said, Kelvin Shepherd was on your list the other day when you came up with the Tomlin replacements. Tell us a little bit about him.
Heck yeah. Defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, Kelvin Shepherd, former NFL linebacker himself. I believe he's 37, if my memory from the article is correct. Yes. Was a linebackers coach before, has been, learning under that Dan Campbell tree. What's really strikes me about him is he reminds me a lot of, where Mike Tomlin was in 2007 when the Pittsburgh Steelers hired him, right? Like, had a lot of experience on the defensive side of the ball, is becoming known for his ability to get after the quarterback with the schemes he has on defense. And if the Steelers think, the way the NFL is going right now is like offensive coaches, right? And I wrote about several other offensive coordinators, guys that give off the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan types of vibes. But if they want to find maybe the next Mike Tomlin in that young generation of coordinators, I think Kelvin Shepherd is an excellent option, who is just waiting, almost like many other defensive coordinators who are going to get a shot in an interview, this upcoming spring. He's going to be on that list. If the Steelers are in the hunt for a head coach, I would be thrilled if he was a part of it.
I agree. I like Kelvin Shepherd. I think he's a good name. I like the Dan Campbell coaching tree. I think Dan Campbell's one day going to have a lot of head coaches under his belt, because he knows how to coach both sides of the football and motivate guys. And I think that's what you need, like that's a guy who's going to be well-rounded. And I think that's what the Steelers should be looking for. Smootest Buddhist, Mike T was an outstanding motivator, but rah-rah speeches can only take a team so far. He fell short of his lofty goals, but should be proud. He may be an all-time legend, but he may not be an all-time legend, but he achieved a lot during his 19-year career. I 100% agree. 100% agree. And I get it. People are mad. People are angry. They don't want to hear it, but I will forever be a Mike Tomlin is a great head coach guy forever, and you're not going to be able to convince me otherwise, because I've always looked at Mike T as a guy who's done so much and has carried such crappy, terrible teams to decent records. Any other coach with Duck Hodges as their quarterback. Shout out to Duck, man. Get married soon. This is no ill will, I promise.
To like a country star.
Yeah, Lainey Wilson, shut up. And
I don't know anything about country music, that, man.
Yeah.
You could have said her name was Yellow Tuesday, and I would have been like, love her work. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
She's got a song named Yellow Tuesday.
I knew it.
Nah,
top
she's
Billboard
topper.
topper.
I'm just kidding. She doesn't. Mike Tomlin in my head will always be a guy that did so much with so little, and he didn't always do a lot with a lot, but he was great at carrying a little to something. And I think ultimately that was his greatest downfall, is that, Ben goes down. If you have a top 10 pick that year, where's this team today? You know what I mean? Like, where is it? Does it look different? If you suck with Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, where's this team today? Is it better? Is it worse? Like, if you took the years where you should have sucked, are you a better football team? Those are questions.
Wow. There's a thought experiment. Can I, unrelated, tell you who I think should be the next head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, just simply based off their name alone?
Ah, for sure.
Jim Bob Cooter.
Jim Bob Cooter. Jim Bob Cooter. He was first on your list, actually. He was.
Yeah, I mean,
first
he is.
name.
He's gonna. I think he's gonna get hired, right? Like
Yeah.
He's due for it. He's been in the league forever. You know, the Colts are the sick offense. Jones fibula fracture aside, but yeah, I mean, name alone, Jim Bob Cooter. Come on, man, that's unreal. Coach Cooter, got a question for you.
Michael, this awful postseason resume of Tomlin's is why the Killer Bees never won a title. That team was way too talented to not win at least one Super Bowl. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I don't think it was all on Tomlin, but I also don't disagree. I think you should have been able to win a Super Bowl with how good that team was. So some of them not. I don't think the whole Killer Bee era was this crazy team. I think at some points Ross Cockrell was your starting corner, and Mike Mitchell was your starting safety, and things were bad. I do think there were those points, but I think that there were 3 years where they should have won at least once.
And that's just it. The offense was elite. It was up there with any other in the NFL over that span. The defense just wasn't. Couldn't hold a candle to it, and that was the death of those teams. But they were amongst the teams in the NFL. They were one of the best teams overall. They just couldn't get it done. I think they should have. Was it what year did they go to? Was it 17?
So the year before Shazier's injury, they should have won the Super Bowl.
Yep. I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Rasa Pasta Salad. What do you think of Asante Samuel Jr.'s debut? I don't think it was anything noteworthy. I don't think it was awful. I think I was excited that they put him on the field instead of Darius Slay. That's how I look at it. But I don't know. I don't think he looked. I don't think the secondary was the problem. I think it was the run defense. So I think the secondary as a whole looked pretty decent. I don't really have many negatives about any of them. I think it was the run defense that made it really difficult because Josh Allen didn't really throw the football that much because he didn't have to throw the football that much because James Cook ran for 30 yards. Shout out to my fantasy football team. I think that's what was happening there. So I don't think it was terrible. I hope it was good enough that they do it again. That's my hope.
There's no reason to bring Darius Slay back. I don't think Asante Samuel came back and was like, "Oh, I am a top cornerback in the league right away" or something like that. But he made a nice open field tackle. I think he finished with 2 or 3 tackles total. Came on in relief, got some good reps, and that's a huge positive sign. Again, 26-year-old guy, 1 year removed from playing an NFL game, comes in there and looks serviceable. I'll take it. And I think it is only encouraging, and he should receive more reps from here.
Agreed. I also, and I do got to ask: do you think that Darius Slay gets released? Do you think that he asked for a release and they give it to him?
Ooh,
probably right.
Probably. I don't. I think let's be
the
honest.
Adam Thielen treatment.
Yeah, you got to respect. If he wants to go, if he thinks he can go sign somewhere else, yeah, for sure. The Steelers will honor that for sure. I struggle to see what team that's worth their salt is going to be like, "Oh, Darius, we're pumped. Come on in, brother."
Yeah, it'll be Philly or Detroit. It'll be somewhere that he's already played for them to just be like, "Yeah, you know what? We'll bring him on." And in the playoffs, we'll give him 2 reps.
That's a mistake. That's what that
Suicidal Duff. Can someone please give me a reason to not drink drain cleaner today? Look at brother.
Chill, brother. Chill.
It's at the end of the day, sometimes teams need to stink. And what we've said multiple times today, where would the Steelers be if they've stunk already? Maybe everybody's been asking for it. Steelers got to suck. Steelers got to suck. Steelers got to suck. Well, they suck. Maybe this is a good thing. Maybe if you finish with a top 15 pick in the draft, it's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing.
Steve, Bruce Arians with Randy Fichtner or the Jaw as a replacement for Mike Tomlin? None of the above.
Or for Arthur Smith?
Also none of the above. Bruce Arians, I guess. Bill Cowher, I don't even know if Bill Cowher would know how to coach football right now. All respect to Bill Cowher, man, but I don't. It's been 20 years since that man's coached a football team. He'd walk in and be like, "What are you talking about? We're using headphones now. What do we even do there? What are you telling me I talk into this thing? I just used to yell." No. Bruce Arians would be fun as an offensive coordinator, I guess, not as a head coach.
Pass on them all. Did you see Bill Cowher roast Lane Kiffin for wanting to, still coach at Ole Miss before he takes over on a full-time basis at LSU?
No, that's awesome.
He
That's
was
awesome.
great. He was like, just know if you play for Lane Kiffin, it's about Lane Kiffin, not the program. I was like, he's fired up. He's
fired up. It's true, though. It's so true, dude. Shout out to Lane Kiffin, man. Shout out to Lane Kiffin, who's still making less money a year than Mike Tomlin. Michael, are we cooked? We are cooked and need to clean house of the coaches. I agree. I think everybody is going to go, whether the Steelers win and make their way to the playoffs or not. I think the entire coaching staff outside of Mike Tomlin does not have a job in 2025. Gerald Alexander, Danny Smith, and maybe Scott McCreery are the only three that I would say still are around. Those would be my own. Tom Arth.
Did you say Tom Arth earlier? Yeah.
Yeah, and Tom Arth. Roger, I don't think we should start from scratch. Keep the players we have. Get a wide receiver 2, corner, left tackle, and a whole new coaching staff. Yeah, I mean, yes. You don't obviously just everybody's gone. We've cut you all. We have no salary cap space, but we will somehow sign a 90-man roster. No, you're keeping the pieces that you have, and you're going to hope to build off them, but you're going to move on from vets. Jonnu Smith doesn't have a place in Pittsburgh in 2025. Yeah, I think you could go with a lot of these guys. I think Patrick Queen is an example here. Kyle Duggar is an example here. Isaac Seumalo might be an example here. Calvin Austin is probably an example. All the guys that I think Jalen Ramsey's potentially on that list. And I don't think Jalen's played bad. I just think that, all the guys that could be that could be replaced, probably will. Probably will. Chris, unlimited moon salad, wrong. A great head coach hires offensive and defensive coordinators he trusts and let them call the plays. He's got a big head and adverse to change. I think some head coaches are really good at calling plays, and I just don't think Mike Tomlin is, I just think that's what it is. Dan Campbell called an entire offense, and the Lions look great. Dan Campbell's a defensive-minded head coach. I guess he's played tight end, so I guess maybe, but still, I think some head coaches are really good at it. Some are not. Mike Tomlin has always chose to be and then not trust his coordinators. And I think that's been a downfall of his for a long time. Long time.
Yep.
Smoothest Buddhist, chances Tomlin actually gets traded. I give it a solid 15% chance.
No. Tell him why, Noah.
Why? What?
He's in a trade clause.
Well, he does have a no trade clause. He's
never gonna waive it.
I don't think he'd waive it either.
No chance. The Steelers could. I think the Steelers try a lot, over the next 2 years. But no way. No way does he waive it, in my opinion.
I think I agree. I think he should for New York, but I agree.
Sure.
I agree. Yeah. Blessed Light. 1, are coaches trade subject to the trade deadline? 2, why would any team want to trade for him knowing he might be fired soon? Oh, because then you don't have to negotiate. They would trade for him. They would 100 teams would. Mike Tomlin would go faster. Here's the list, guys. It'd be who's on the trade market: Patrick Mahomes, Mike Tomlin, and it go 1-2, baby, and then the rest of the NFL. Every single one of them. Mike Tomlin will have a job. It's not an exaggeration that Mike Tomlin's gonna have a job in an hour. he would go in 2 seconds. And teams would be like, yes, please, I will give you so much for him because then I don't have to negotiate with him. He already comes with a contract and an extension. We're good. Like, yeah. Coaches are subject to trade for the trade deadline. I believe. I don't think we've ever had an in-season coaching trade. So I don't even know if I know that. But yeah, teams would trade for him in 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Nate needs more salad. How early were people leaving the stadium yesterday? Very mid third quarter. It was getting pretty empty. And by the end of the game, it was all Bills fans. It was all Bills fans. Yinzer salad. Did you notice that after one of the many failed run game plays, Rodgers looked at the sideline as if to say, I told you so. Let him drive fully. At this point, I don't even yeah, sure. Sure. You want to let Rodgers call the offense? Let him call the offense. I still don't think they'd be very good. I
don't think they'd be very good.
No.
I also just think I think I'm kind of good on seeing Rodgers look to the sidelines every time a play goes wrong, being like,
yeah,
told you.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, we get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone knows. Everyone knows. We're watching the same thing.
Yeah. We are all aware that play didn't go well. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not, sure. I'm in the sure phase, but I just don't think it helps.
Yeah, try it.
Wendy, as always, thanks for keeping us updated. Appreciate you. Love you guys. Love you too. My girl, dude. Wendy, sorry. You said the players are mad. Who are they mad at? Also, if Tomlin leaves, any chance Rooney hires Gruden since he loves Howard? Could that be good? I don't think Gruden would even be considered. I also don't want John Gruden. I'm super anti-hire somebody who's already been in the NFL. In terms of, especially for a 6th round rookie quarterback, I get it. The Will Howard thing, exciting, but no. I think they're just pissed at each other. I think they're pissed at the coaches. I think they're pissed at the players. I think they're pissed at themselves. I think they're just pissed at everybody. You know what I mean? You ever you have just a really bad day and you're not mad at anybody. You're just you walk in the house and somebody's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just angry. I'm just so angry at everybody. That's what it kind of is. It's
mad.
Yeah.
I get it.
I just think that's where we're at. I think that's where we're at.
Gruden sucks, man.
Huh?
Gruden would suck as a head coach right now.
Yeah. I honestly, I think maybe he'd be okay, but I just don't want I don't want a coach that's been in the NFL. I just don't care about a coach that's been in the NFL. I have no, they already have one. His name's Mike Tomlin. AWOL, hey, no, would you rather have Aaron Rodgers and DK, Calvin, or Russell Wilson and DK and George Pickens? I mean, they both, Russ, DK, and George Pickens, I guess, but I still don't think you're doing much with that one. I don't think you're doing much at all. I think Russ, George Pickens, and DK doesn't work because Russ could only throw one pass. And I think Rodgers, DK, and Calvin don't work because we're watching it not work.
Yeah, you don't think the moon balls would work?
Yeah, for the first 2 games. And then they won't work for the last 5. Kind of like we saw last season.
Yeah, it all sounds pretty bad. You look at these options and you're like, would I rather eat a poop sandwich or another poop sandwich? And you're like, probably neither. Maybe neither. Any other options on the menu?
No, you only get to pick one. Blessed Light, I looked it up. There's no trade deadline for coaches. Very good to know for sure. Rasta pasta salad. Bold prediction: Steelers make the playoffs. Yeah, I think that's super possible. As crazy as it sounds, I think that's super possible. And let's finish it off with Jay Kennedy, Clint Kubiak, Chris Shula, Joe Brady, and Cliff Kingsbury. I would be happy with any of them as a new head coach. Who do you think? I'm removing Cliff Kingsbury immediately. It just follows my you've already coached in the NFL clause. I'm out. I don't think I'm a huge Joe Brady guy either. I like Joe Brady, but I also think you have this guy named Josh Allen who's just ridiculous. Clint Kubiak is very high on my list. High on my list. He's got Sam Darnold looking just as good as Sam Darnold was looking. And that is Impressive.
That's true.
Impressive.
That's true.
I go Clint
I'll,
Kubiak.
Kubiak's nice. Little second generation Kubi, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would go. Here's my list from my article, right? And you can read about it, why. Obviously mentioned Jim Bob Cooter, Coach Cooter. Got to have
Top of
him.
the list
Kelvin Shepherd. Josh Grizzard, offensive coordinator with the Tampa Bay Bucks. I would want him to be referred to as the Grizzler. That would be a requirement. Jesse Minter, defensive coordinator with the Chargers as well.
Yeah, Jesse Minter I like as well. Grizzard's a good one, dude. Grizzard's a good one.
Grizzler.
The Grizzler. I love it. All right, guys. With that said, we're heading out of here. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk. Check us out anywhere you get your podcast. Let's get Duff in here one more time. If we beat the Ratbirds next week, is anyone jumping all back into this up and down crazy ride with legit hopes of a playoff win? I will say no. Making the playoffs, certainly. Playoff win, there's a lot that goes into that.
Yep.
All right, with that one said, hit that like, hit that subscribe button before you head out of here. Check out all of our work at si.com/NFL/Steelers, and we will be back tomorrow. Until then, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg.